Welcome back to Tie Town Reviews, the finale of Remake Rumble for 25. This week I am pitting the immortal 1978 John Carpenter's Halloween versus the 2007 divisive remake by Rob Zombie, Halloween. I know people don't like Rob Zombie's remake, and there's people that love Rob Zombie's remake. I like both of these films. Before I get started, please understand that. I understand what Rob Zombie was going for. I also understand the legacy of the original. So please keep in mind that these are opinions, and these are me grading these measurables against the measurables of the other film, and just how I feel they stack up against each other. Please put in the comments how you feel without being horrifically hateful. Okay? Thank you, everybody. Let's get to it. Halloween from 1978. John Carpenter's Halloween is a horror classic that set the blueprint for the slasher genre. Shot on a shoestring budget and becoming a cultural phenomenon, the story follows Michael Myers, a silent masked killer who escapes a mental institution 15 years after murdering his older sister. On Halloween night in Haddonfield, Illinois, he stalks teenager Laurie Strode and her friends, while Dr. Loomis, his psychiatrist, hunts him down. 2007, Rob Zombie's Halloween is a gritty, visceral reimagining of John Carpenter's 78 classic, cranking the brutality and diving deep into the psyche of Michael Myers. Zombie splits the film into two raw halves, a grim origin story, and then the relentless slasher remake of Carpenter's original. Young Michael, a troubled kid in a dysfunctional Haddonfield family, snaps, committing a chilling murder spree. Fast forward in 15 years, the hulking, silent Myers breaks out of the asylum and is fixated on Laurie Strode while Dr. Loomis races to stop him. Again, understand the legacy of the original, and I also do understand and see what Rob Zombie was going for with his remake. I'll get into the story in a little bit. First, measurable. Cast versus cast. I'll be splitting this up in Carpenter and Zombie. So each time that I put a point for one of the films, it will go to Carpenter. It'll say Carpenter up here. Or Zombie, and then the points. First cast in the cast versus cast, John Carpenter. Marion Chambers, played by Nancy Stevens, known for the Halloween franchise and various films, as well as Escape from New York. Judith Myers, played by Sandy Johnson, known for being a playmate for Playboy and playing Judith Myers. Tommy Doyle, played by Brian Andrews, best known for playing Tommy Doyle. Lindsay Wallace, played by Kyle Richards, best known for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills as well as Halloween. Sheriff Brackett, played by Charles Cyphers, known for Halloween as well as being a constant mainstay for Carpenter, being in several of his films over the years. Bob, played by John Michael Graham, who's known for Halloween. Linda, played by PJ Souls. She's retired now, but is known in the horror space for roles in Halloween, Carrie, Uncle Sam, and Merchants of Death. Annie Brackett, played by Nancy Keys. Like Cyphers, who happens to play her dad in this film, Nancy Keys was a frequent collaborator with Carpenter, being in several of his films over the years, known for Halloween, a small part in Halloween 3, she's in The Fog, Assault on Precinct 13, and many others. Dr. Sam Loomis. Donald Pleasance, known for his bald head, intense staring eyes, and the prolific career that he left behind. Over 250 film credits to his name, whether it was from film, stage, or TV appearances. Most people today know him from his affiliation with the Halloween franchise, but he's been in Bond films, he was in The Great Escape, and numerous other films and franchises. Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, known best as the original Scream Queen, having numerous credits to the horror genre at the start of her career, but is of course well credited as a prolific actress, known for other things like Freaky Friday and its recent sequel, True Lies, the Haunted Mansion remake, Christmas with the Cranks, Knives Out, and of course, I wouldn't forget Everything Everywhere All at Once, for which she won an Oscar. Rob Zombie's cast. Ronnie, played by William Forsythe, best known for portraying tough guy criminal types. He was in films such as Once Upon a Time in America, Raising Arizona, Dick Tracy, Gotti, and Blue Streak. Deborah Myers, played by Sherry Moon Zombie. She's an actress, model, dancer, and fashion designer. She is best known for landing roles that are primarily directed by her husband. Her roles have spanned 20 years in films like the Firefly trilogy, Halloween and its sequel in 2009, The Lords of Salem, and of course, most recently, as of this video, she was in Rob Zombie's The Munsters. Judith Myers, played by Hannah R. Hall, made her film debut in Forrest Gump as young Jenny. She also has appearances in Sofia Coppola's The Virgin Suicides, as well as, of course, Rob Zombie's Halloween. Young Michael, Daeg Faerch, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I looked it up. Look, I did my due diligence. If I mispronounced it, I am so sorry. Daeg is also known as the Great Daeg. He is a Canadian and Danish actor, but he is also a songwriter and rapper. He is best known for his roles in this film as Michael Myers. Tommy Doyle, played by Skylar Gazondo. I'm sure I butchered that. Please let me know in the comments. He is known for being a very diverse actor with numerous credits already, whether it's live action or animated. He's been in things like Licorice Pizza, Vacation. He was just in Superman. He's in The Righteous Gemstones. He's young Sean for a while in Psych. He's in Haunted Hotel. And of course, he's also in the Air Buddy spin-offs, which are spin-offs of the Air Bud franchise from Disney. Lindsay Wallace, played by Jenny Gregg Stewart. She is known for a movie called Elizabethtown and Halloween. Sheriff Brackett, played by the Brad Dourif, who's known for playing Billy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings. He's also most known for voicing Chucky in the Child's Play Chucky film franchise, as well as the TV show. Linda, played by Christina Klebe, Kleb. She is known for Halloween, as well as Proxy, Killer Mermaid, Don't Kill It, and Two Witches. Annie Brackett, played by Danielle Harris, known as a Scream Queen for her numerous roles in horror films, such as the original Halloween franchise, this Halloween remake and its sequel, the Hatchet franchise, Urban Legend, the Redwood Massacre. I mean, just so many horror things. She's also known for non-horror roles as well, such as Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. That said, it's not horror. It sounds like a childhood horror, so that might fall under horror. But anyways, the Wild Thornberrys movie, The Last Boy Scout, Wish Upon a Star, and she's also in an episode or two of Boy Meets World as the bully's sister, DK. Dr. Loomis, Malcolm McDowell, an English actor known for being in controversial films like A Clockwork Orange, Caligula, and If. Laurie Strode, played by Scout Taylor Compton, started as a child actor in 13 going on 30, as well as roles in shows like Gilmore Girls and Charmed. She's been in several horror films like the Halloween remake and its sequel, Ghost House, The Long Night, and most recently a shark creature feature, Into the Deep, which I believe is on Shudder. Both casts have their ups and downs. Rob Zombie has a better collection of established or experienced actors overall, and weirdly enough, better portrayed characters when it comes to Laurie's friends. In the original, I always am waiting for Michael to get Annie, Linda, and Linda's predatory-seeming boyfriend, Bob, whereas I actually don't want Annie or Linda to get got in the remake. I know Annie survives in the remake, at least until the sequel, but it's still sad to see her get attacked. But in the original, she's whiny, she's bland. I don't know. It's weird that she strips in the kid's house that she's babysitting for. Again, she got butter on her shirt. She maybe changed her shirt, sure, but she didn't have to take her pants off and all that. Anyways. With that being said, as much as I love the remake's cast as a whole, and as much as I despise certain character elements with Laurie's friends, their issues do not even compare to the issues with Michael's family and the horrific verbiage used with all their cussing, and just it's the way Rob Zombie writes. You know, it's the way he writes his scripts. It's the way he does his dialogue. It's just, it takes you out of it a little bit, you know. Some movies are better than others, you know, as far as being able to accept that, as far as I'm concerned. But this is not one of them. I mean, the movie's going to be ultra violent enough. You don't need ignorant sounding cussing. Because that's what it is. It's not just cussing. It's ignorance. But anyways, it doesn't matter what issues I have with the original cast or their portrayals. It does not pale in comparison to the dialogue and the just issues with the cussing and how they talk to each other. It's really unrealistic, if I'm being honest. I know that's stupid when I'm talking about horror movies and a killer that gets shot multiple times and blah, blah. But still, it takes you out of it. The point goes to Carpenter. Let's go to story. Again, like I stated in the reviews, for Carpenter, the story follows Michael Myers, a silent killer who escapes an institution after 15 years. He goes back to Haddonfield, Illinois, and goes after Laurie Strode and her friends. In Rob Zombies, it's the gritty reimagining of that. Also has that backstory at the beginning. Now, I know people don't like the beginning of Rob Zombie's remake. They just prefer to watch after he's at the asylum. I get it. Especially if you don't like slow burns, it can be grating on you. But it's good. It is. When it came to story versus story, I tried not to think about the kills. I tried not to think about the actors playing certain roles. I tried to separate maybe some inexperience at the time of certain movies being filmed. I tried to separate all that and focus on the story specifically. So, with that being said, trying to focus on story only, not kills, not legacy of characters or actors, it's important to highlight the biggest difference between the two films with why Michael's doing what Michael's doing. Is there a reason for it? You know, you can go 300 different ways with this. The original goes with pure evil that he was born with. No reason for truly why he is the way he is or doing what he's doing beyond evil. I always see it as evil, but also curiosity about death. And what makes me think about that is the way he watches himself stab Judith or his head tilt when he kills Bob. You know, different things like that. It seems like that curiosity and he's always wanted to kill something. Maybe he's been killing animals like in the remake. And now, you know, he kills a human and what that feels like, what that looks like. It's fascinating to him. He's fulfilling that maybe fantasy or dream, if you will. But, you know, that's really all it is. It's very bare bones. The remake goes with the direction. He was abused mentally and neglected at home when he was a child. He was bullied heavily at school, along with having a fascination of harming animals. As well as when he does actually kill, he goes into a dissociative state where the evil takes over, and it's not really him doing it because he's not. Again, I don't know if he's lying. You know, I didn't do those things, or when he's in the asylum and he asks, is everyone at home okay? I don't know if he's being a little monster. When he's younger and he's not killing, he doesn't seem to have that type of personality as far as being evil or conniving. So, but when the evil takes over and he actually kills, it's like a whole different force that's driving him. You know, all of this is what fills that first hour. So like I said, no, people don't really care for that because it's so long. And I think it gives a reason for why Michael is the way he is. And again, it heavily negatively represents mental disorders or emotional disorders and all of that, you know, with whether you were abused or you have this mental disability and all these different things. You know, you're not going to just start killing people. And I understand that people didn't like that angle as well, but that's the way he went, and it's compelling. Whether it's accurate to how somebody would be in real life or not, as somebody who was abused when I was younger, I can tell you, you don't just start killing people. You know, there is a bit of evil that has to come with that, whether, you know, as long outside of self-defense or defending your family. When you just go out and kill people, there's a certain level of evil that comes with that. And as a formerly abused person, I can tell you that that's not where my mind goes. I don't think about going out and killing people. That's a whole nother thing. But it's still a compelling story element to have in his movie that sets it apart from the original, and that is the goal of a remake. Now, is the rest of it, when he's out of the asylum, when he breaks out, is the rest of it pretty much shot for shot remake? Outside of Annie surviving, yes. But it really does a great job compelling you, I think, or attempting to compel you with giving a reason for Michael being the way he is, actually truly becoming the shape. And so, point goes to Zombie. I know he doesn't have the best track record with writing, but he did a good job in this case. Again, I don't care for the verbiage, but despite that, his actual story is good. Next segment, horror, action, and kills. Carpenter is up first. Tension, tension, tension. Carpenter's Halloween is a blueprint for creative uses of several things. Shots, the formula for slashers, all these different things. But more than that, it is a blueprint for creative uses of tension building. Whether they built it up through shots, whether it's close-up or long distance. One of the kills is very creative, especially for the time when he kills Bob. No matter how possible it is, because that knife is not long enough to have gone far enough into the wall to hold his body up. Even though he's not very big, he's still got dead weight is still dead weight. So even though that's not super believable, again, suspension of disbelief is very important. But despite how possible that is or not, it is still a good kill, and it was very creative. Overall action is lacking. It's a slow burn to its highest usage of that term. It again builds until the final going after of Laurie, which again, it's not great. It's not. I know, again, people, deep breaths. The overall action is lacking, relying solely on the tension to build up dread, and allowing it to pay off with him coming out of the shadows after Laurie or her friends. With the horror, it's a close to home thing with a stalking killer coming after you, and that's very good. But again, the movie itself is slow and the action is lacking. And realistically, stuff's only really happening like the last 20 minutes of the movie, 25 minutes maybe. Zombie. When it comes to Zombie's iteration, he copies the tension from Carpenter's version. He adds to it with over-the-top gore, an extremely terrifying Michael to have after you. The action, post-lengthy backstory, is top-notch. Yes, the first 40 minutes or so, or hour, however long it is, it's slow. It's a slow burn. There's not really anything happening. Even the kills are kind of very much like the original. It's just stab. He does slice a guy's throat, and he does hit her boyfriend over the head. He does kill a few people, but it's still slow. It's still, not a lot going on truly. But once he gets out of the asylum, he just after everybody, and he's relentless. Once you get past the long opening, the film is just non-stop paying off your patience for going through that beginning and going through the build-up of who Laurie and her friends are. Again, slow opening, but the action is great. The chases and kills are amazing. It's violent and it's scary at times, and it shows the appreciation Zombie truly had for John Carpenter's original. Point goes to Zombie. The final girls. Before I get started with this part, I know Laurie Strode is on some pedestal of final girls for a lot of people. I'm sorry for this section. Carpenter's Laurie, played kind of boringly at the beginning by Jamie Lee Curtis. This is not her fault. It was her first real role, but her character is your typical bookish girl who does have a little whimsy about her, and she's a very good protector of the children that she's caring for. and does a good job fighting off Michael until Loomis shows up. I know I said boringly because it is boring. She is not the most exciting main character to have. She has no true personality that really shines through. I know that it's actually there, but you don't see it very easily. And a lot of that is because this was Jamie Lee Curtis's first role. And I try not to hold that against her, but when it comes to this remake Rumble and pitting her against Scout Taylor Compton, I'm sorry. She is boring compared to her. All right, Zombies Laurie. This iteration of Laurie is bubbly, she's goofy, she's still bookish, but capable when it comes to fighting off Michael later, and she has a smart mouth. She has personality. She has a whole personality, and it's great. Again, this has a lot to do with Scout's experience versus what Jamie Lee Curtis's experience at the time was. However, she is portrayed by a more experienced actress at the time of the role being played. There's more heart to her character, and you truly feel bad for her when you believe her anguish when she's finding her friends dead or severely harmed during her final girl circuit at the end. On top of that, she is also a good protector of the children she has in her care and puts them over herself when drawing Michael away to keep them safe. Point goes to Zombie. Again, I don't know how many times I can say it. Realistically, it goes against Jamie Lee Curtis because of her inexperience at the time that she originally played the role. I'm sorry. That's just the way I feel. The Loomises. This was an important addition I felt like I wanted to add in, because when you talk about remake versus original, it is no more night and day. The Lauries are pretty night and day, but it is just no more night and day than the Loomises. In Carpenter's Halloween, Dr. Loomis is played expertly by Donald Pleasance. He shows fear but respect for Michael, what he believes him to be capable of. When he's after Michael, he's confident he will find him, but is still terrified of what Michael is and is terrified of actually finding him and having to deal with him. In Rob Zombie's Halloween, it's an interesting take on Loomis. While still having that fear of what Michael is, there's no respect for what he is afraid Michael can do. There's no respect for it. It's more, he's been using Michael for the last 15 years to try to build up his career and trying to get rich or famous for being known as the doctor of the devil. And it pales in comparison to Donald Pleasance. Point goes to Carpenter. The Michaels, the shapes. This is the most important part of this video. The Michaels. John Carpenter's Michael is played by Nick Castle, who does a great job as the stalker killer, and he's a big part of why the tension actually ends up working in the film. The build-up, and then also the way Michael is portrayed just adds to it all and makes it just amazing. Rob Zombie's Michael, played by the giant Tyler Mane, who is a former wrestler. Despite his size, he does a great job with the silent stalker killer part of being Michael. But more than that, he uses his size as a great tool of violence and brutality. Just like with Pennywise last week, when it comes to the better killer or the better Michael, it has to be brought down to who would it be worse to have after you. The silent stalking scrawny Michael from 1978 or the hulking, enormous, ultra-violent Michael from 2007. I think it's obvious. I could fight off Nick Castle's Michael. I really believe I could fight off that Michael. I could keep my wife safe. I could keep, my family safe. But Tyler Mane's, I'd get tore up. I would be terrified to have him after me. He's huge. He's fast. Again, it's like the Friday the 13th thing when it comes to, when you talk about like the Jasons. A fast Jason is scarier than a slow Jason. And that's the same case for Michael Myers. He's fast and he's hulking. Absolutely terrifying. Tyler Manes wins Point goes to Zombie. I am doing a special recognition point before I go. The original Halloween is the Mac Daddy slasher to most people. It's the reason the Friday the 13th franchise even exists. While I have my issues with certain aspects of this film that more directly link to, whether Laurie is his sister or not, I don't find the original to be as horror-filled as a lot of others, or I'd say that most people find it to be. I do still understand what a legend this film is in the horror space, and I do love it. Tension, like I already discussed, built up in a phenomenal way, despite the true horror of the original lacking at times. The direction of Carpenter and the shots that he did in this film to build the tension so expertly, and this film being the inspiration and driving force for what horror films have been ever since 1978. It is legendary in its own right. Point goes for Carpenter for that. With that being said, we have the closest fight that I've had between an original and a remake since I started doing this. The winner will come out to be Rob Zombie's Halloween with a score of 4-3. Now, like I stated in the special recognition point, Carpenter's Halloween is an absolute classic that ended up being the blueprint for how slashers would be filmed, written, made, however all you want to put it, for forever. How they would be done for forever. In comparison to a couple of other films in its own franchise, whether it's a sequel, requel, or remake, it is slower. It is more leaning toward being boring at some points. I am not at all ignoring its legacy that it forged for itself, nor am I saying that I don't love it, because it is a classic that I do love. Whether it's desensitization from horror that has come out since, or maybe films have just learned from where Halloween does lack in the areas that it does lack. I don't see it as the greatest horror film ever made, but I do believe it is one of the better horror films ever made. I do respect this film and I respect its legacy, but as far as this remake Rumble is concerned, Rob Zombie's Halloween was the better film. Thank you for watching. If you're still here, please like and subscribe. Please comment below what you think about both films. Don't just go in and be hateful and tell me how stupid I am for how I pitted these two against each other. I love both films. I think the emotional angle that Rob Zombie tried to tug for his remake was a good angle to take. And I'm sorry, like I said, same as with the Friday the 13th remake. It does what a remake is supposed to do. It set out to take a story that's previously been made, rework it, add in its own flavor, and put out a new product or a upgraded product in some way. It set out to do that, and it did it. Improve on the legacy of Halloween? No. Nothing could ever improve on the legacy of Halloween. But it does set out to be a retelling of this story and forging its own path with doing so. So in that regard, it was a successful remake, and I like it more than the original as far as sitting down at rewatch value. When you talk about rewatch value, I like the remake better than the original when it comes to rewatch value. Thank you, everybody. Be blessed. Goodbye.